I had grown up living a particular way, under a particular kind of set of rules, in a Catholic mindset of if you act this way, everything will be good for you. Go to church on Sunday, try not to be a bad person, do confession, and you'll be fine. And I was 18, 19 years old, trying to figure out why I should still live that way. And I just knew there has to be more, and if there's not, then I'm not gonna do this anymore. My best friend that had been the drummer in my high school alt-rock band moved here to do IHOP. And about a year after he moved here, I was in a dead-end situation, with a full-time job, not going to school. My best friend doesn't live around anymore or whatever. And so I called him and I'm like, hey man, my life isn't going anywhere. I don't know what to do. What's your advice? And he was like, well, I've got a bed in my apartment. You could just move to Kansas City. And so 2 weeks later, I lived 3 blocks away from the prayer room and learned what IHOP was. So I went from Catholic church on Sunday, moved to Kansas City on Wednesday, and then FC is my new church on Sunday. It was a total culture shock. And in 2010, after I had lived here for 2 years, I decided I was gonna do Fire in the Night, and I've been full-time ever since. The major catalyst for me was the awakening. So I was living here in the community when the awakening started, and I don't know anything about the Holy Spirit and how he moves at this point. That started when I was like barely 19. I come home from work one day and my roommates go, there's a revival. We have to go, it's a revival. And I'm like, I don't even know what that means, but okay, let's go. What is revival? So we go to the church building where they started holding the meetings, and I didn't start shaking and fall down on the ground and have a really intense experience. But over the next months, I would barely ever go home. I was just going right to those meetings, staying there till midnight when they ended, go home, go to bed, get up, go to work, go back to FCF, because there was something there that I couldn't stay away from. I could tell that over time, things in my heart were changing. And then eventually that culminated for me with going into the internship into Fire in the Night, which was a 6-month season of going from the bottom to the top of the bought in spiritual maturity. This is what life can look like when you're fully given over and in a community of people that are given over. And it was a eye-opener for me. So one of the biggest impacts for me in the program in Fire in the Night was I was surrounded by men striving and attempting to live a life without compromise and in intimacy with the Lord. And that was something I didn't know was real. So it was so impactful to me to say like, oh, I see people doing this. That means I can do it. And that's the way I want to do it. That's the way I want to live now. I remember my core leader would come to our apartment at 6 a.m. after we had been in the prayer room from midnight to 6. He would come to our apartment every day just to say like, hey, how was the prayer room tonight? What was the Lord talking to you about? How is your life impacted and how are you changing? And just to be able to talk through that with somebody that had been there and been doing it was so impactful. I remember telling him one night after I'd been reading through the Song of Solomon notes for the first time, reading like, it says in here, the beauty's in the eyes of the beholder. That means that Jesus can see me as beautiful because he's the one that's seeing me. That changes my whole perspective on my entire life, because it's not about what I see. It's not about who I think I am. It's about what he sees and who he's telling me that I am. And that was a huge moment. So I'm so thankful to those men that gave their time to helping young men like me come to those realizations and be impacted by the Holy Spirit.